Hello, and welcome to Mitchell Consulting's webinar series for our Mitchell University. Today we're going to be working with SAP Business One version 9.0, and we're going to be talking about the price list enhancements that were done in the new version. This webinar is being recorded. It'll be available on our website, so you can visit us at www.mitchellgroup.com to view this, plus the others in our training series. So let's begin, and what I'm going to do is first I'm going to go through the standard way the pricing works in SAP, and then I'm going to talk about some of the new features. We're going to talk about with the new features in SAP Business One version 9.0, how we can set price lists to be active or non-active. We can also set a price range. We're going to talk about pricing an item or an item's unit of measure in an exact foreign currency. Set a default price list for the business partner group, price and discounts on items by its unit of measure, offer free items based on a quantity purchased, set effective discounts for the business partner or business partner groups, ignore discount groups for a specific business partner or item, and remove items without pricing from a price list. So let's talk about that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to also talk briefly about a new functionality called units of measure, because this actually is in the pricing. I'm going to go over it briefly, but we do have a detailed webinar on our website about multiple units of measure, so you can take a look at that one to see where this information is coming from. Again, I'm going to discuss it briefly because I need to show you how it works with the pricing. So let's begin and talk about SAP and how the price works. In versions before, version 9, we had our price list, and they were controlled by the terms. So if we go into administration, and this is still true in version 9.0. So if we go to administration, and we go to setup, under business partners, there are the payment terms. And you can see that for a payment term, you can see the price list here. Base price. For those working with SAP, it was very important is that when you have terms, the same term for your customer and vendor, like for example, you have net 30 days for your customer and net 30 days for your vendor, you need to define two payment terms because of the prices. This still holds true in version 9. So for example, if we look here, let's say we have AP net 30 days, and you can see that that is going to be the last purchase price because that's going to be for my vendors here. And then I have net 30 days for my customers. It's going to be based on the price list. And that information was carried over into the business partner. So if we go into the business partner and the business partner master data, let's just call up a business partner, and under the payment terms, you would see it here. Now that was the default. You can see here I've changed this one because of the terms. But this would be the default, and then what you can do is you can go ahead and make a change. So this would actually read the price. Right? So let's talk about some of the functionality and some of the setup that we can now do within the system. So we're going to talk about setup first, and then we'll show how this works within the different enhancements for the price list. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into setup. And now what I can do is, again, I'm going to go back to business partners, and we have these customers and vendor groups. So now when I define my customer groups, I now have the option of setting a list price. This is good because what happened is sometimes people's pricing gets very complicated, and what they had to do is, in this case, they had a price list, say, for distributors, but then they would have, let's say, small and large accounts that really didn't tie to a specific price, so they would have to create price lists and link them to all this information here. Again, multiples or different ones. Now what I can do is I can kind of streamline. So I can say, you know what, for my distributors here, I can say I'm going to use the distributor sales price. And what that'll do is when I click update, that will override the settings in the business partner. I also have, for discounts, a nice way to control discounts. I could have overlapping discounts because I can have discounts for different pricing and different groups and different, say, manufacturers and so on. So what happens is a customer could end up getting 3 or 4 different types of discounts. Now I can control how I want to do that. So I can say, take the lowest discount of all the available discounts, take the highest discount, of all the available discounts, take an average of all the discounts, take a total, just so add up all the discounts and just give them the total, and I can do discount multipliers. In this one, I can take the multipliers of all the available discounts taken. So if I have a 2% discount and a 12% discount, I would just give them as 14%, and so on. These also here deal with the dollar amounts. So again, we can have a nice feature. And if you notice, if I set this, and again, if I go to update, you're always going to get this, and this holds true in the when you update the terms. So do you want to replace the list for all business partners in the group? So if I say yes, it's going to override and set all the distributors to that price. If I say no, it won't update the business partners at all. Okay, so we have that set up in the system. We also have in the setup, if we go into the administration, in the system initialization, we now have a new tab in the general settings. So if we go to our general settings, you can see now we have this new pricing tab. We used to have the standard inventory tab here, and now we created a pricing tab. And again, we'll be referring to this, but here you can talk about certain things you want to do. Again, display zero price in documents for the price source. So again, you can determine if you want to display the zero pricing. You can do it for the period volume discounts. You can do it for the special pricing. You can also do it for the price lists. You can remove unpriced items from the price list. Again, what this is good for is if you have a lot of pricing, let's say you have huge price lists and some don't really have a price on it, some don't have discounts. What happens is your data tables get really big. So now you can kind of remove that information out of here. You can also determine when you have those inactive price lists how you want to see them. So you want to display inactive price list in reports. You want to have it in, say, sales, purchasing, and inventory documents, and you want to have it in certain settings. So you can, again, take that off. So this was added fields in version 9. We also have in the business partner in the items, we have a couple fields added. I'm going to go first to the business partner. Then I'm going to focus on the items and talk a little bit about the multi-levels of currency before we get into the actual pricing. So if we go into, again, the business partners, and let's call up the business partner master data, and we're going to call up our Earthshaker. And you can see here under payment terms, we have some new fields here. Okay, you can see, again, we have that effective discount that we saw in the groups. Remember, you can set the group here. So when I do that, I can actually set this information. But I can go customer by customer, and I can actually set the price that I want here. And I can override what the default was. And then I can also do that effective discount. You can see here. And I also have this here, do not apply discount groups. This is another functionality, and again, some flexibility, because you may have a relationship with a customer or certain customers, and you don't want to apply the discount groups, so you want to kind of override that. So what this will do is it will exclude this business partner from all the discount groups, and we'll go into the discount groups today too as we go through it. Let's go into the item master and show you some of the new functionality in the item master. We're going to go to inventory, item. I'm just going to call up an item, and I'm going to call up an item that I have with units of measure. Show you how this works. So again here, if you look, we have some information here, some new information. You can see some changes to the stuff here. You can see what's called the item group. You can see that this actually has an item group, and this item group is linked to units of measure. And again, there's a detailed webinar on this and how this works. But I just want to show you this and see how things are calculated. So I have an item group, a unit of measure group set up for paper. And you can see I have a pack, which is my base, and then I have the small pack, okay, which is half the pack, you can see here. Then I have a 6-pack, which is 6 of the regular pack. I have a carton, which is 24 packs, and I have a pallet, which is 48. And you'll see how this works within the pricing. And again, that's set up here. By default, if we look at If we do not set that up, you can see that items will go to manual. Okay, that's a good definition. And then what you can do is you can define that to a group. Once you define an item to a group and you do have a transaction, you can see how this is grayed out. You cannot change the item group. It sets in there. You can also see here we still have the standard price list, okay, that we can determine all the different pricing. So if we look at, say, the discount price, you can see here what it is. So the purchase discount is 4. Again, this is standard functionality here. But now what we also have is this. You can do the unit price based on the different currencies. This was actually a nice feature for people who deal with foreign currencies, because a lot of times when people dealt with foreign currencies, they didn't want to have the problem with the exchange rates. They wanted to kind of set up manually. So if my primary currency is US dollars, but I sell to Europe and I have euros or Canadian dollars, I want to set the price for a specific euro, just round it. I want to have, let's say, 10 euros. I don't want to have to go through the concept of using exchange rate and be a little bit off and, and have different figures. So now what I can do is I can actually set the pricing for that within the price list. Let's see if we have some. So you can see here, additional currency, we have 12 euros. And currency 2, we don't have anything here, but again, we can determine this. So we can say this is going to be 10, let's say, Canadian dollars. So we can set that. So under our regular price list, we have our primary currency, which is 12 US dollars. We have our additional currency, which is also 12 euros, and we have our additional currency 2, which is 10 Canadian dollars. We also have, which is new in the item master, again, when you're dealing with the multiple units of measure, you have this little button here. So we have this information, and you can see how you can define, again, the pricing here. Make this a little bit bigger. So again, you can see the primary currency, which is the US dollars. You can see the additional currency, which is the 12 euro, and the additional currency too, which is this. So now, because this item has units of measure, you can see I have the pack. So if I tab here, again, I can do a 6-pack. And by default, it's going to multiply out because it's 6 packs. It's going to take 12 times 6, which is the 72. It's going to work its way across. Again, you can override this. So you can set, maybe if they buy a pack, you want to give them a break. So instead of 72, you want to give them, say, 65. And we'll do the same thing here. And we'll just leave this at the Canadian 60. So again, you can see how the units of measure come into play. And that's because of that unit of measure setup. Let's just update this. So again, the recap in the item master now, we do have the unit prices based on the price list on the additional currencies, which you can also define. And if you're dealing with item groups or multiple units of measure here, U of M groups, you can go here and you can then set it for the different units of measure. And again, we do have a detailed webinar on multiple units of measure, which you can take a look at. Okay, so now let's go in and talk about some of the changes we did. Let's talk about the active and making a price list active or non-active as well as with a date range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to inventory, and I'm going to go to my price list. I'm going to go to my price list again. So again, this is kind of the standard we have here, but again, you can see the fields are added, which is nice. You can now make them active, and you can have a valid from and to date. This was nice because what it allows us to do is if I want to set a price list that's effective next month, I can actually go in now and define that and say it's valid from starting, from, again, a particular time, so I can do a group. Maybe I want to run a promotion for a given date range. I can do that. And I can also just go here and make, again, a price. If I'm not using this small account sales price anymore, I can just turn it off. Again, functionality you see here, which is the same. You can set the prices to link on each other. Again, this is standard SAP functionality from earlier versions. So for example, you can see the price list is based on itself. So it's a factor of 1. The discount price is the base price with a factor of 1/2. So in this case, if I have an item that has a base price of $10, it's going to take half that, so it's going to come up with $5. The regular purchase price is 75% of the base price, so this would be $7.50. The distributor price is $1.25, so if it was $10, it would be $12.50, and so on. This would be $15, and so on. So you can also link this. But again, the big change here is this information, as well as the authorizations. You can also set authorization groups, again, to authorize pricing of what we want to see. But here's the changes. So we have the active, we have the valid from, valid to. Again, we have our primary currency, which is US dollars. We have our additional currency, which again we're using in this case euro, and we have Canadian. We have that in the price list here. The period and volume discounts, let's take a look at that. And again, we can go here, so we can actually do our period and volume discounts. See what we have here. And again, we have those additional currencies, so we can go here and we can set our currency levels. So if we go, for example, to paper, again, we could do our period discounts. So we can set our corresponding valid to and from dates. And again, this was standard in the SAP from before. You had the valid dates and the discount periods. So you can actually set this information up. So you can go here and you can say, again, giving different prices for the information. And you can see here, I can do this one because of the unit of measure. I can set multiple units of measure. This first item, the IBM here, you can see the unit of measure is manual, which means we have no multiple units of measure. So if you see here, we just have it here. This one, we have it for the multiple units of measure. So I can go here and I can do the pack, I can set a discount. I can also go in here and again, I can set information here based on different units of measure and so on. And I can set them up here under my different units of measure. And again, I have the additional currencies if I wanted to. I can't change this because I have some transactions behind it. But you can see how the period and volume discounts is set up. So again, I can do it based on a specific pack and so on. So again, we can see how we can do that in our period and volume discounts. Our special pricing, we do have some changes for the special pricing. If we look at special pricing for the business partners, again, we still have that functionality. Okay, so again, we can call up a specific business partner. So I'm going to call up Earthshaker again. And you can see here, you can add an item. Again, I'm just going to add this item. Take this one here. Use the same item. And again, you can see this is kind of standard, so we're just doing a price after discount here. We can set it up. Again, we have the primary currencies, but the source price now is a new function. We can look at the source price. So again, here we're doing a $300 price based on the unit price's primary currency, which is US dollars. But we can actually go here and we can set a different price. Again, if we have that defined, we don't have it defined for this item, but if we have it defined here, we can set the specific price. Let's call up we can actually do that setup in our system. So we can set up that for the special pricing, again, for our standard special pricing, which is in here. And that's a unique one-to-one business. The other big change we had here was the discount groups. Let's look at some of the changes in the discount groups. We have a few changes here. The type, now we can do discount groups for all business partners. We didn't have before, so we can do discounts for all business partners. That's why we have that option in the business partner master data to ignore, because if you want to do all, you can still do the customer groups, the vendor groups, and a specific business partner itself. Again, I'm going to select a specific business partner. And again, I call Earthshaker. We still have the item groups, okay, so we can do discounts based on item groups. So if this customer buys anything from the HP printers, you can do discounts. This is the same. The properties is the same. You can set discounts based on properties that are in the item. And the manufacturer, again, this is the standard we had in the other pricing. But now we have a new tab here called Items. All right? In the Item tab, we can go here and we can create a discount for a specific item, and we can use this paid and free quantity. This is nice because what a lot of our clients wanted to do is they would kind of have a special. If you buy two, you get one free, and so on, and it became a problem as far as pricing it. So now we can actually set that up. So we can do it with, and we can also do a max of how many we want to give away as free items. Again, we have our active. This has been added to the system like we saw in the prices, so now we can have a range of how long this is going to take place, so we can set this up for future, and then we can have it activate in the future. So let's talk about how this free works here. So we're going to go into Add, and again, we're going to select this item. So again, we have this item here, and what we could do is we can say he's going to buy two, get one free. So we're going to say he's going to pay for two, he's going to get one free. And we can set a max. A max is just like, if I set a max of 4, that means I can buy 4 of these. So if I'm going to buy two, get one free, I can do that for 4. So basically, I can buy 4 sets of this, so I can buy 8 of these. You know, so I'm getting 8 and I'm getting 4 for free. So you can just set that if you want on a limit. So you don't want someone coming buying everything up. Again, the free is optional, but what that allows me to do is set the pricing. And what it will do, what's nice about SAP, it will actually create, the reason why it's in the discounts, because what it'll do is it'll do the discount percents. Here, let's just add that and go back in so I have it. So what it will do here is it will figure out, based on the pricing here, if I buy 2. So if the price, if you're buying 2 and get 1 free, what it's going to do, it's going to, in essence, give a 33% discount for the items. If you're, buying 3 and getting 1 free, so you have a total of 4, it'll do it by 25% and so on. So what it'll do is it'll actually do that. So it'll do the correct price. So in this case, it'll actually set the information for you. So again, that's a nice feature to have in the system, because what it allows us to do is set those, buy 1, get 1 free type things, or buy 2, get 1 free, and so on. And again, we don't have to worry about, and in the sales process, making sure we doing the correct pricing. So you can see here, again, the new functionality for the discounts. You can see that now we can do discount groups for all business partners or for a business partner itself here. You can see we can do discount groups for specific items, because now we have the items here, which we didn't have before. We can exclude discount group pricing for a business partner or an item. You saw that in the BP. So if we go here, again, we can exclude this one because we're doing it for all. We don't want this person to have it. We can see it here. We can also look in the item information, and we can actually do it to the item information if we wanted to. We can see that discount groups now can be active for a date range. You can make it active for a specific range or just make it inactive by unchecking the box. We can do that. So we can do discounts according to the quantity purchase. So now we're doing it here. So in this example, buy two, get one free. And the effective discount for the business partners and business partner groups, you can see we can actually do it now in the setup for the business partner groups. That's the customer groups and the vendor groups. So let's recap kind of what we went over here. We're talking about, in summary, now we can set price lists to be active, inactive. We can also do this for the discount groups with the optional valid date range, so we can make them either active, inactive, or set up a date range. We can have price lists selected by business partner groups. We can have exact pricing for additional foreign currencies, so we don't have to worry about the conversion rates. We can actually set our different foreign currencies. We can have pricing by each unit of measure and the new pricing unit hierarchy, which you saw that, which we can set up. We can do new discount group options, including discounts according to the quantity purchased. Again, the buy one, get one free type thing. We can have effective discounts for the discount groups. And we also have some features. We have the checkbox to ignore discount groups for the business partners or the business partner group and items. And we also have the option of removing zero pricing from the system. And you saw that set up, again, in our setup here under administration. So again, the functionality that was added, again, under administration, there are some new fields and new setups. If we go to system initialization and under general settings, we now have a new tab here called pricing. Again, we can determine here about the zero price in the documents and inactive. So we can determine if we want to see those in the period volume discounts, the special pricing, and the price list. We can remove unpriced items from the price list in a database. This is a nice functionality. If you're dealing with, your price list or your items, or you have a lot of items and a lot of different pricing, what it does, it actually, just takes up a lot of data on the tables. Again, it just cleans up the tables and makes it easier. Before you had those in here. You also have the unit of measure conversion rules change. Again, you can remove and update the unit of measure prices based on the last purchase or last evaluated price. And you can determine the inactives, how you want to see those in reports, if you want to see those in the marketing documents, so our sales documents, our purchasing, and our inventory documents. If you want to remove them actually from the settings, you can also do that. The other thing we have in the setup, so if we go here to setup, we have a new feature here for the business partner. So we have the customer and vendor groups. Now we have a new column that we can actually have for the business partner groups. We can link a group to a specific price list. And we can also have how we want to handle the effective discount. So we want to give the lowest discount of all the discounts available, the highest discount of all the discounts, add up all the discounts and average them out, just add up all the discounts and give them the total of all discounts, or take all the different multipliers. So if you have 2% and 10% and all that, use those multipliers. We also see that in the master files, there's some changes. So if we look at the business partners, under the business partner master data, again, there's those groups up here. But if you look now in the payment terms, we now have the effective discount, again, which is coming from that setup. So if we set this vendor group, it would come over, but we can change it. And we can also set do not apply discount groups. So we want to just totally ignore this business partner. We can do that. There's been a lot of changes in the item master, not only for the pricing, but for the multiple units of measure. So again, here you can see that our items have changed a little bit. So again, now we have the unit of measure groups, which can be defined. Again, once you set a group and you do have transactions, you have to limit it to that specific group right here. By default, everything comes in as manual with no groups, but again, you can here and select and define new groups if you want. We have our, again, there's a whole webinar on the units of measure. You can also do barcodes by the multiple units of measure. But here now, again, we have the two additional currencies added to all the price list and everything related to pricing. So we have our primary currency, which is the currency of the system. In this case, it's US dollars. But we can have two additional currencies. So we can have additional currency 1, let's say euros, and additional currency 2, which is Canadian dollars, if we wanted to. We also have, when we're dealing with multiple units of measure in those groups, we can now do it also by here. And again, you can see the base unit here, so we can have, if it's a pack, you can see the information. And again, remember we said if we do a tab here, and we take a 6-pack, which we define as 6 in the pack, you can see it's going to multiply. 6 times 8 is 48, and it's going to do its multiplication across the board. And again, that deals with the units of measure. If we go to, say, this item, you can see that since there's no multiple units of measure, that part's grayed out. And again, you can define the barcodes here for the units of measure. Again, you can create a barcode for a pack, a 6-pack, and so on. Again, you'll see that in detail in our other webinar. So we have that information, again, in the setup. And then the difference is now you can see that if we actually go to the pricing, so if we go to inventory, price list, again, on our price list, you can see that we added the new information here, so we can make it active or non-active. We can also give it a valid date. This is nice because we can set pricing ahead of time. So we can have this execute at the first of the month or the first of the year. And again, you can see those additional currencies that we have available. So again, the base price, we're allowing these additional currencies. So again, we can actually set the additional currencies. So if we click here on there and we look at an item, we can actually set here. So we can say, okay, this item here, let's say this item A002, the primary is 200, but I want a hard code. Again, this additional currency, I want, let's say, 150 euro, and I want 120 Canadian. And again, you can see how that's set up. So again, that will always be updated. And if we look at that item, you can see here, again, the primary currency, the additional currency 2. Special pricing, well actually period and volume discounts. We do have some information on there, a few things. Again, you can see those currencies were added. So again, we have those additional currencies in here, and our sourcing, again, where we want to make our period and volume discounts read off of the primary of the two additional currencies. This functionality was added. Special pricing. We do have a couple things here in the special pricing. Again, if we look here at the BP code, you can see here that, again, we have those additional currencies added throughout the system here. Our discount groups, changes made to the discount group. Difference being now you can do all business partners. You can still do the customer vendor groups and a specific BP. Again, you still have the standard tab you had before, the 3 tabs, but this one was added. So you can actually do item groups. So if this business partner buys anything that's an item group accessory, you can give discounts. You could do it based on the item properties, if you're using item properties. You can still do it based on the manufacturers, but now we have this new one here. So we can do it on a specific item. So we can give a discount to a specific vendor on a specific item, And most important, we can set up the quantity that they're being paid for, that they are paying, and the quantity of free. So in this case of a buy two, get one free, now we can easily set that up. And SAP will handle in the background taking care of that, actually discounting the prices so it works out correctly in the marketing documents. And again, another feature, just going to show you one more thing in the marketing documents. So if we go here, let's call up a sales order. So we have some information added here. We have the price source, where it's coming from. So for example, if I go here and I put that item in, again, you can see that this one we set the discount for. You can see here, again, that's standard SAP functionality. We have a 10% discount. That's why it's in blue. But now we have this here. So we can see where that's coming from, because before it used to come up and people always got confused with the colors. If it was blue, if it was red, if it was green, and so on, then we really knew what that meant. We just knew that we used to tell people if it's not black, that means there's some kind of discounts or special pricing behind it. But now you can see where it's coming from here. You can see this was just the active price list. There's nothing, and this is coming from the period volume discounts. So remember, what SAP does in pricing, which still holds true, it goes from very specific to very general. So what it'll do is first it will look at if this particular customer, so let's say Earthshaker has special pricing for a specific item. And I forgot which one I used on that one, so let me just go back in real quick. And before I do that, okay, A003. So let's go back and do another sales order. So you can see here, again, if we look here, you can see where it's coming from. So what it's doing, is actually, the way it's set up in the hierarchy, it's obviously going to go from specific to general. So, for example, if I have special pricing for a customer for an item, it's going to look there. Okay, well, it doesn't have any special pricing for that item. Then it's going to start looking at, okay, well, what about discounts? Do I meet the criteria? Do I have this customer have discounts for a specific customer group or a specific item group? A specific manufacturer, specific property, and so on. So it basically goes and it starts looking back, and eventually, if it doesn't find any of that, it reads the price list in the business partner, and so on. So it's going to go kind of forward and back. And you can see here what it's doing. So you can see that I put 3. So again, what I'm going to do, it's going to pick the price, but it's going to discount the price because I'm getting that one for free. If I put 6 or 4, let's say, again, you can see here I have to do in the buy one, get one free, again, because it's allowing me to do that. If I do, let's say, I think it's 8. If I do 10, actually I'm putting it in the wrong one. That's the packages. I want to go here. So if I do 6, okay, you can see that, and I think I set it at a limit of 4. So you can see here how it changed, because what I did is I defaulted back. See how this one went here? Because what I did is I said he can only get, remember, I think I said buy 2, get 1 free, or a limit of 4. So that means he can get 8 of those. My math is correct. you can see I went back to the 33%. And you can see that there. If I go above that, like if I put 20, you can see how the discount changed here, because it went back to a standard discount. Because again, I didn't do that. So if I go back and I say 3, it'll go back. So again, it figures out it figures out that that free item very efficiently in the system. Okay, so that concludes our webinar today. Again, this is being recorded. This will be available on our website. You can visit us at www.mitchellgroup.com to view this, as well as the other in our webinar series. And once again, we thank you for your